The purpose of this video is to help you understand SAS libraries and the difference between temporary and permanent data sets. And we begin by looking at the program from Chapter 2, Exercise 5. And when you first log into SAS, I want you to look over at the left panel. At the top, you'll see Server Files and Folders, and you should see the files that you downloaded from your textbook author. Down below, you'll also see Tasks and Utilities, Snippets, and Libraries. And I'm going to click on Libraries. You'll see 4 libraries there by default: SAS Help, SAS User, WebWork, and Work. SAS Help and Work are the only 2 that you need to be concerned about. SAS Help library is pre-populated with data sets that SAS has provided for you to play around with. And I reference a few of these throughout the course. I'm going to minimize that list. Now let's talk about the Work library. The Work library is just a place to temporarily store data sets that you're working with in your session. They won't get stored to your machine. And currently, since I just started up a fresh SAS session, that Work library is empty. Nothing there. But let's go ahead and populate it. I'm going to run my program here that says Data Prop 2 from the homework. And when I do that, that data set that's created from these data lines is sent to the Work library, and the name of the data set is Prop 2. And I can double click on that over here and I can see the data set. But let's say that I would like for this data set to be permanent, meaning I want it to be stored on my computer so I can access it later and do other stuff with it. Or maybe I want my original file permanently stored on my machine and every manipulation to be temporary. You need to know the difference between the 2. Let's take a look first at the PowerPoint slide. To set up SAS so that your data set is stored to your machine, you need to type and run a lib name statement. It begins with the keyword lib name. Then you're going to come up with a name, which is called a library reference, or a libref. That's 8 characters or fewer. And then in quotation marks, put the file folder location on your machine where you want it to be stored, and then end your statement with a semicolon. The textbook author gives this example where he names the library Mozart and he stores it to his C drive. We're not going to be storing it to C books learning. We're going to be storing to folders, my folders, and I'll show you that. So I'm going to write a lib name statement. Again, we need the keyword lib name, and then I need an 8-character or fewer name for this location. And I'm going to use WTCC for Wake Tech Community College. And then in quotation marks, I'm going to put /folder/my folders. And end this statement with a semicolon. And I'm going to run line 3 of my code. I'm just highlighting that one line of code, and I'm running it. And now I see the WTCC library in my list of libraries in the left panel. But I don't see Prop 2 there. How do we send this Prop 2 data set to the folders, my folders location? Well, we do that using a 2-level data set name in the data statement. So instead of just Prop 2, we will have WTCC.prop2. And then if I reference this data set name anywhere else in my program, such as down here in my proc print statement, I need to reference that as well. So let's run this. And notice my WTCC library now includes the Prop2 dataset. That means that dataset is now stored to my machine in the same place that I used for my shared folder when I set up SAS University Edition. Now, just in case you didn't set this up the way it's expected, how would you know what that shared file is? shared folder is. Go to your server files and folders and right-click on My Folders and go to Properties, and then your folder path will be in this field right here called Location, and you can copy and paste that into your quotation marks in your live name statement. All right, now at this point, I'm going to end my SAS session and start a fresh one, because this is where some people get scared. And I'm going to pause the recording to do this. And I'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, I closed my SAS session and I started a new one. And I'm looking at that same program that has my live name statement in it, but look over to the left. I don't see that library anymore, and there's nothing in my work directory. Well, the work directory gets cleared out every time. Those are temporary data sets. That's your place to store something just temporarily. It doesn't use up space on your machine. It gets cleared out every time you end your SAS session. Well, what about the data set we stored on our machine? How come we're not seeing it? Well, we have to rerun the live name statement. So I'm going to highlight line 3 and rerun it. And now I see it. And there's prop 2. I did not run the rest of that code. I only reran the live name statement. There's my data set. It did not disappear because it's permanently stored to my computer in this location. All right. If I wanted to, I could change my library name. In fact, let's do that. Let's call it BAS150. If I do that, I just need to make sure that any place in my code where I reference the library, I update that as well. And I want to show you this for the following reason. Let me run this. Notice at the top of the list, I have BAS150. Your list of libraries is given in alphabetical order. Notice also, we've got the same 3 data sets in both libraries. That's because these are pointing to the same location on my machine, the same folder path of folders, my folders. So just to recap, if you have a 1-level data set name like we started out with, then your data set will be temporary. It will be stored to the work library and it will disappear when you end your SAS session. If you want your data to be permanent, you need to run a live name statement that points to a place on your computer, and you need to use that library name in a 2-level data set reference here in your data statement. That will send it to this location you specified in your live name statement. It will be there until you physically delete it, but you're not going to see it with a fresh session unless you rerun your live name statement. If you have any questions, just email me.